Hi all, welcome to the channel Cloud Knowledge. Today in this video, we'll study a scenario where in the target file, we will append date and then the extension. Okay, so let me show you in the whiteboard. Okay, so here, let's say we have the sync dataset and data is coming from two sources, source 1, source 2, and it has ID, let's say, and students marks. Some rows are there. And here also ID and marks coming from the source 2 and it has some rows. Okay, we want to unionize the data and then add it into a file where the file name will be given by us. Okay, in the form of, let's say, total marks of students, total marks students, and then underscore and then today's date. So let's say 17-3-23 the year. Okay, so day, month, year, and then dot CSV. And here at the source level, the name of the files could be different. So it could be class 9 students marks and it could be class 10th student marks. Okay, we have to combine the data, that is unionize the data coming from both the sources ID and marks and take it into the sync ID marks, that is the total list of the students IDs and marks, and name this output file in the format total marks of students, then the date.csv. This is what we are going to accomplish in this video. So let's go to the data factory. Here we are in the data factory, and let me first take you to the storage account. And inside the storage account, inside the test input container, we have two folders. Okay, class 10th. Inside the class 10th folder, we have a CSV called class 10 students.csv. If we try to preview the data present inside the class 10 students CSV, we'll see here student ID and total marks as I have shown in the whiteboard. And if we go back and open the class 9th folder, class 9th folder, if we open, we have the file class 9 students.csv. We'll edit and preview. This also has student ID and marks. So our requirement is to unionize the data for the class 10th and 9th dataset and then rename the file according to the requirement as per our choice, that is total marks of the students, and then we have to append the date and give the extension as CSV. So this will do in ADF. So let's go to the data factory and to the author tab and we'll create a new pipeline. So let's create pipeline and name it as append date to file name. Okay, then here, since this involves data flow, we'll take from the move and transform data flow activity in the canvas. Okay, and then we'll go to the settings of the data flow and create the data flow plus new, and here name it as append date file name. Okay, and we should connect to the data source. So let's click on add source in the data flow, and in the source settings we will connect to the data set. Okay, so we'll click on plus new, and we know that our input data set lies here inside these two folders, class 9 and class 10. So we'll connect to the Gen2 storage account, and the files are delimited text CSVs. We'll name the input file as, let's say, S1. Then the link service is already there for the storage account. Then we'll select the file path, test input folder. Inside class 9th, we'll go and select the class 9 students.csv file. Enable first row as header, import schema none, and click OK. Right? So we have selected first source here, and we'll go to the source options. We need not do any change here. we'll go to the projection, and in order to import the projection, it will ask us to first enable the data flow debug option, okay, to discover the source schemas. So we will click on data flow debug option from the top and enable this for 1 hour. So in the meantime, we will create source 2. So click on source again, add source, and in the source 2, we will connect to the dataset, storage into account, and this time to the class 10th folder. Delimited text, we'll name it as S2, and the link service we already have, same link service, and the folder lies inside the test input container, inside the class 10th folder as class 10 students.csv file. Again, we have to enable first row as header, import schema none, click OK. Okay, so we have source 1 and source 2 ready. Let's go back to the source 1, and in the source 1, here in the source 1, we could see now import projection option is enabled because data flow debug is also running. So let's click on import projection. Let's wait for some time. So the projection is successfully imported. 2 columns are shown and the type. Okay. Now we'll go to the source 2 and import the projection. So why we are importing projection? Because later on it will help us in framing the expression to display the input schema there. So here also the projection imported. If we go to source 1 and go to the data preview tab and click on refresh, we could see the data present inside source 1. Let's wait for it to fetch the data. So here is student ID, total marks from source 1, and if we go to source 2 and the data preview, we'll see the data preview from source 2 also here. Yeah, so the data appeared here too. Now we'll click on the plus sign, and from the different transformations, we have to select from the multiple inputs and outputs the transformation union. So we'll click on union. So why we have chosen the transformation union? Because I've shown here in the whiteboard that we have to combine the data from the 2 sources as 1. Okay, we have to combine the data from both sources 1 and 2. So we have used union. Now we'll click on the union transformation, and in the first tab, union settings, output stream name description, we'll leave it as is. Incoming stream by default, since we have created from source 1, so incoming stream will be source 1. Okay, and then the option is union by, whether we want to union by with the name or the position of the columns. Okay, so we'll leave it by name only. Then union with option. So this stream we want to union with which stream? So let's say if there are multiple, so let's say if there are other sources also in the same data flow, then we could select from among the different sources. Okay, in the drop down they will also appear. So since we have to combine it with source 2, we will select source 2 in union with. Okay, so we have selected this. Now we'll go to the data preview of the union transformation, as well as we can see that a linkage is established between this source 2 and union 2. Okay, between source 1 union, source 2 union also. So here in the data preview of the union transformation, we'll click on refresh to preview the data. And here we could see the data, the rows coming from the source 1 and then the rows coming from the source 2. They're all combined or unionized. Okay. And now we have to attach the sync and land it into the output location, and make sure that the name is given as total mark students, then current date, today's date .csv. Okay. So let's click on plus sign after the union transformation and go to the destination, select sync. That is the target. And in the target, we need to connect to the data set. Okay. So we'll click on plus new here and storage into account. Delimited text we want. We'll write it as sync and sync of S1, S2. Link service we already have, and the file path, this time we'll browse it to test output folder. So here in the test input folder, our sources S1 and S2 reside, and this time for the output file we will land it inside the test output folder. So we'll select test output folder. Here inside F1 folder we want to land the file. So let's select F1 and click OK. First row as header, import schema none, and click OK. So the setting at the sync level for the dataset is done. Rest of the setting change we don't require. We'll leave it as is. Now we'll go to the settings, that is the second tab of the sync settings. And here we have the important option as file name option, right? So this option, from this option we have to select output to single file. If we will not select, then it will break the file into partitions. So we have to select output to single file, which will give us a prompt above that it should enable set single partition on. That is, we want the file to be single partition. We don't want it to partition. So we'll click on the blue icon there to enable the set single partition on. For this, the next option comes is output to single file and the file name here. Okay, if we hover over it, enter a file name which will contain all the output content. And here, if we click on output to single file, we could give the hard-coded file name, or we could also add the dynamic content. In our case, we are not hard-coding. We have to give the file name like this. We have to give total marks students and then today's date. So let's say the files come on some other date. So we want the file to have that date. Okay, it should be dynamic. So in order to use this option of file name here, we have to add dynamic content. If we click on dynamic content and try to, let's say, use the function current date, okay, and in the current date, if we hover, it will give you the current date when this job starts to run. That is, whenever this job or the pipeline will execute, that date will be fetched. Okay, but one important thing to note here is, if we try to preview the data coming from this, it is not possible at the sync level. Okay, we don't have an option here to preview the data. So in order to make sure that we write the correct expression here for the file name, output file name, we will not use this expression builder of the sync file name. Instead, we will cancel here, and with just before the sync level, we'll add, after the union transformation, derived column transformation we will add. Okay, so we'll click on derived column transformation before the sync or just after the union transformation. Why we have added derived column transformation? Because I've shown you that here in the dynamic content we could not see the result here itself, while in the derived column transformation, if we go here in the expression builder and write any expression here, let's say current date, so here at the bottom we could preview the data also. Okay, if we click on refresh, we could preview the data. Yeah, we could see the current date. So it's YYY, MM and DT. Okay, we'll cancel. We'll discard for this case. And here in the derived column transformation for the sync output to single file dynamic content, that is this dynamic value for the file name, we will create here and then add the same here. Okay, that will create in the derived column and add in sync output to single file, that is the file name. Okay, so let's go here in the derived column transformation. This derived column transformation I have already covered in the data flow activity playlist. So here in the derived column transformation, we derive new columns or work with the existing columns on the basis of the expressions we give here. Okay, so let's say here we will create a new dummy column. We'll name it as dummy, and in the expression we'll open the expression builder, and our requirement is to make the file name as total marks students, then the current date day, current date month, and the current date year .csv. So in order to write this complete file name, we will use multiple functions. So we'll demonstrate those functions one by one. So let me first show you the input schema. You can see here under the expression values and here the expression elements input schema and the two columns coming from the source, student ID and total marks. Okay, so since we have imported the projection at the source 1 and source 2 level, we could see these, and if you miss to import the projection, these will not show up here. So we have to go back to the sources and import the projection. Okay, so I wanted to add that note here. Now let's go back to write the expression. So here in the expression, let's first focus on the date concept. Okay, so for the date, if you click on the filter by keyword current, okay, here in the filter it will give us three options. First is current date. It gets the current date when this job starts to run. Then we have current timestamp. It gets the current timestamp, that is the date along with the timestamp details. Third option is it gets the current timestamp as UTC. So these three options are available, and we need to give the current date. Okay, so we'll click on current date and we'll click on refresh, so that we could preview the data coming from this function current date. And another point to note is that all the functions which are present here will be the same, present at the sync level. So whatever expression we will compose here will be used as is at the sync level too. So here in the current date function, we get the output as year, month and date. And in our requirement, it should be first as day, okay, then month and then year. Okay, so how to extract the day and then month and then year from this current date function? So for that purpose, we have another function. So here if we search day of month and let's hover over it, it gets the day of the month given a date. Okay, so this function day of month will be utilized for this purpose. It gets the day of month given a date. Example is also given here on the right side. On the right side, example is also given that it will fetch us 8. Okay, so we'll write here this function right before current date. Click on day of month and then we'll enclose current date inside it. So this makes the complete function by clubbing two functions together. Okay, from the current date, extract day of month. Let's click on refresh. And we could see 17 is fetched from it, right? So from the YYY, MM and DD, we got the day 17. Now, next is we want the month also and year also. So we'll click on the expression values search option and search for month. If you hover over the month function, it gets the month value for date or timestamp. Example is also given that for this date 2012-8-8, it will give us 8. Okay, the month value. So let's remove this day of month function and write here month. Okay, this function, right? Month function. If you hover over it, it gets the month value. So let's click on refresh. And it gives us 3. Okay, 17, 3, 23. And for year, we have another function called as year. This one. Okay, it gets the year value. So instead of month, we will put year. Okay, and we'll click on refresh. So year is also fetched for us. So now we know that we have to use 3 functions. Let's select all, delete all, and we'll see the functions list. Functions which we will use. So first is this current date function. Okay, it will give us current date in the form of YYMMDD. So it gave us 2023, then 0, 3 and 17, right? And with the help of functions day of month, we got the 17. Then with the help of month function, we got this month, and extracted year with the help of year function on top of this, right? On top of this, when we applied these 3 functions, this this, and this, we got the value. But how we got the value? We got 17, we got 3, and we got 2023. And now in the output, we want the output to have the value 17, then hyphen, then 3, then hyphen, and then 23. So in order to add this hyphen, we have to first perform these functions on current date and then concatenate. Concatenate function will add whatever we give inside it. Okay, whatever we give inside the concatenate function, that is the first value for extraction of the day of month, then hyphen, and then month, then hyphen, and then year. Okay, so this will give us the complete result. Let's go back, and here we will frame now the result. So we'll remove this and we'll use concatenate function. Let's click on concatenate function. It will say this and that, and let's hover over it. Concatenates a variable number of strings together, same as plus operator with strings. So the important point to note is number of strings together, and our output was not string, right? Our output was in date time. So we have to convert our output to string, because concatenate function only accepts a string. If we'll not select a string, it will give us error. Okay, so if our value was current date, and from current date we have extracted, let's say, year, then from this year we were getting this value 2023, but we need to convert it to string. So to convert this to string, so that concat function will accept it, we have to use toString function. If we write here under the search for the expression values str toString, it will give us toString. It converts a primitive data type to a string. Okay, so let's go here before year and click on toString. So toString will appear, and we'll just take the braces from there at last. This is the complete expression to extract the year, okay, from the current date and then convert to string, so that concatenate function or concat function here could consume it, okay, without any error. So let's click here on the refresh to make sure this works fine. It is fetching us the year, right, in the form of string. Now we will take this below, and here at the top we will use concat function. Okay, concat function we are using. Inside the concat function, what we have to use first? In the output we wanted, let's delete it. In the output we wanted file name as total marks students underscore 17-3-2023.csv. This, and this we wanted. So we will concatenate all these things. The first part, that is total marks of students, is the same. It will be hard coded. So for hard coding, we will give here, since it accepts string, so we'll give it and under single quotes, total marks of students, total marks students, then underscore we have to give. That underscore also we'll give here. And the syntax is this and that, this comma that. We'll give a comma. Okay, the next should be this day of month function, which we have used to extract the day of the current date. So what we'll use here, first function is current date, and before current date we have to use day of month. Day of month, this function, and we have to use it with current date. So we just remove the brace from there and add here, right? So we are adding day of month, and we have to convert it to string, right? So we'll take toString function, and we'll leave the remaining, we'll remove the remaining options from here, and we'll enclose here. Okay. So toString function, then day of month, then current date, same as we did for the year as we demoed. I've not deleted it from here because we will add this for the year here itself by copying and pasting. So in total, how many braces were there? So these two are for the current date. This is for the closing of the current date. This is for the day of month, and this is the main brace. Okay. So this will extract 17. Now, next is this hyphen. For hyphen, we have to give comma, and then within single quotes, we have to give hyphen. Okay. Then again, we have to give now month. So let's copy this entire thing from here and paste here. Just that we have to remove this day of month and add month function to get month. Okay. Now again we have given comma and give hyphen. So we'll add in single quotes hyphen and then add year. This year section we have already created for demo, so we'll just cut from here and paste it here. Okay. Year is also pasted, and now we can see that the error is gone from the expression. And after the year we have .csv, that is the extension of the file. For that extension of the file, we'll give a comma again to concatenate that extension in the form of string. We'll write .csv. Okay. So this is the complete expression, right? So what we are doing here is we are writing total mark students as hard-coded. Then we are extracting the day of month, the month, and the year from the current date. Then we are using hyphen also as string, extension .csv as string, and all are getting concatenated with the help of concat function. Let's click on refresh and see the output here itself in the derived column transformation. So the result says total mark students underscore 17 hyphen 3 hyphen 2023.csv. This looks perfectly fine. So we'll just copy from here the entire expression. Just copy it, click save and finish, and go to the sync. And here at the sync level in the settings, we will open the dynamic content and add this expression. Click save and finish. So the file name is given in the form of dynamic content. And now we can remove this derived column transformation from here. Okay. So just delete this and we are good to go. So let's validate the entire mapping, publish the changes, and now we'll go to the pipeline of this data flow activity and perform a debug run. Data flow started, data flow is queued. Let's click on refresh. It's in progress. In the meantime, we'll go to the storage account, and now inside the test output folder, we gave the location as folder 1. So we'll open folder 1. Let's wait for it to finish first. Finally, it succeeded. Now we'll go to the output, test output container, and inside the F1, and we'll see the file created here, right? The name is same as we gave in the output, total mark students underscore the date, current date.csv. So if this data flow activity is executed on some other day, it will take the date from the current date and will create the file. Okay. So this is how we can dynamically create file name at the sync level in data flow activity in ADF. I hope you've understood how we have used different functions to create an expression in order to accomplish this task. Thank you for watching the video. Do let me know in comments if you have any queries. Happy learning. Bye.